the morning, but he's on now to talk about the one thing on everybody's mind, and that was a testimony yesterday. Sheriff David Clarke, America's Sheriff, Senior Advisor to WeBuildTheWall.us. Hey, Sheriff, great to have you.
Thanks, John, and good morning to your listeners.
Oh, yes, good morning to you, Sheriff. Now, I know you were glued to the television yesterday watching the Mueller testimony, the Democratic bombshell that was supposed to rekindle impeachment hearings, which blew up in their face because he has no case. You watched the whole thing, I know. Your take, sir.
Well, first of all, not too long ago I penned a column for townhall.com called Washington Follies, and it came out after the Mueller report was released, the redacted section anyway, and I predicted that the Democrats wouldn't stop there when we knew now we had proof now in our hands that it was there was no collusion, was no obstruction. I said the Democrats would keep going, and they did. So what we saw yesterday, obviously it blew up in their faces. But John, you're as smart as I am about this, probably smarter. You know the Democrats will not let this go, even after yesterday. They didn't let it go after it blew up in their face when the report was released that there was nothing there. They've been raising money off of this. They've been promising their rabid lefty voters that they were going to impeach this president, and now they're going to have to deliver. They can't stop fundraising off this. This was a theme that they intended on carrying into the 2020 election. They still will, and last time. So that's why I want to caution people, don't spike the football yet, because Democrats will spin their version of what happened yesterday, just like they spun their version of the Mueller report, and they'll keep this going to fool their voters, to fool their donors, and to fool the American people. So I think bad day for Bob Mueller. Bob Mueller, from what I saw and what I heard, he was a straw man in all this. What happened, my guess was that they needed a big name to head this special counsel, a guy with great integrity. Robert Mueller, when he was the head of the FBI, he walks around Washington, D.C. They put these guys, they put them on pedestals. They walk around with this reputation. That's all Bob Mueller had, was a reputation for being an aggressive prosecutor. I think he was a federal judge as well. Well, I'll tell you what, the guy was a buffoon yesterday, and, shame on him, but I think he was a strong man. There were other people pulling the strings. We needed to find out who the puppet masters were that really ran this thing. It was pretty obvious that Bob Mueller did not run this thing, was not involved, but he brought along the name and the integrity that the people inside that were trying to destroy the president, a name and an integrity that was needed to carry out this disaster, this witch hunt. We now, have more proof. We knew it from the beginning, but now we have more proof. This was nothing more than a witch hunt to destroy President Trump and bring his administration down.
Let me ask you something, Sheriff Clarke. Was this, I agree with what you just said, a witch hunt. Was it a coup?
Sure it was. There's no doubt about it. No way around it. That's not an exaggeration. That is not hyperbole. They tried to stop this president from taking office. They tried to destroy his administration. To this day, today, even after yesterday, they're still going to work on bringing this president down. Watch, this thing will shift now. The Democrats realize, and you know me, I like political strategy. You got to stay a couple steps ahead, and that's what I try to do with the Democrats. What they'll do over the next couple days, over the next week, they'll shift the discussion, and the media will oblige. They won't talk about this. They'll let it settle down like they did after the report came out and there was nothing there. They let it settle down, and they bring up a new issue. Watch for them to now bring up the issue of Trump's tax returns to obscure it, to fool the American people about that. They will bring this thing back. They'll still be mentioning the word impeachment. Take this to the bank. They'll still be throwing that word out there because, like I said, they're raising money off of this. Every Democrat lawmaker in Washington, D.C. is sending out fundraising letters. We're going to impeach this president. We have them on the ropes. They can't just stop because it's a big part of their fundraising and a big part of their strategy going into try to damage this president going into 2020. So, it was a coup, no doubt about it. Here's the thing I'm not counting on, though, and I said this in that column on Washington Follies. I want your listeners to go back and take a look at it, and you'll see, how I predicted this, 3, 4, 5 months ago. But what they do in Washington, D.C. is they protect each other. So now we're all getting excited about Bob Barr, and he's got this investigation. He's going to get to the bottom of it. Look, I don't trust him any more than any other Washington insider, John. I'm sorry. I shouldn't even apologize. I do not trust Bob Barr. He's a longtime Washington insider. They all scratch each other's back. They all cover for each other. They'll find a couple of fall guys we've probably never heard of, and I'm not talking about people at the top of the FBI either. It won't be Comey. It won't be Strzok and McCabe. It'll be some other low-level person that we never heard of that they'll offer up as a sacrificial lamb, and those are the people that'll pay the price. And eventually, this thing will go away. That's how Washington works.
All right, so Sheriff Clarke, you're saying that you don't trust Bill Barr. He's a Washington George Bush insider, and at the end of the day, they all protect each other, and that they'll be jumping up and down machinations. They'll find somebody you never heard of, as we've seen in the past with prosecutors. They'll find somebody that's obscure. He'll do 3 years or something, and that'll be the end of it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. You said it almost word for word.
Okay, well, a lot of people think the Barr is different. Certainly the rhetoric that he's used has been very tough, and he did put Durham in charge of this investigation from Connecticut, who's got a pretty good reputation. Everybody knows Inspector General Horowitz from Utah knows that he's tough as nails, but you're taking the position that they'll do nothing, just like they did nothing with Clinton's emails.
And the reason I do, well, there's a perfect example, right? They had her, Mrs. Bill Clinton, they had her dead to rights, and nothing happened. So this is what I'm saying. Well, time will tell. But I've been around this thing long enough to know how it works from the inside. They're all in it together. I'm not saying Bob Barr isn't a good prosecutor, but that's what we heard about Robert Mueller. We heard the same thing. Oh, man of integrity, great aggressive prosecutor, very knowledgeable. They throw out these glorified sayings about these people, and so we think that, right? We think, no, Bob Barr, he's going to get to the bottom of this. We thought that about Rosenstein. We thought the same damn thing. Rosenstein, remember his infamous quote of, you want me to plant evidence on the president? Oh, it was a joke. That's not a joke. Mm-hmm. Not to me, it's not. And we all trusted Rosenstein. We find out that Rosenstein's hands are just as dirty as everybody else around there. This is the Washington inside. And so, no, I do not hold out hope that the Peter Strzok, that McCabe, that Comey will go down. They all three should go down. And I'll tell you what, if I wake up one day and see a headline that those three have been indicted, that will restore my faith in the federal government. But right now, I don't have any.
Well, I tell you what, time will tell. I get your frustration. I'm a little more hopeful, so I'm going to differ with you on this. I think Barr might actually go forward with this. But if you believe in playing the odds and the numbers, and you believe in history, and you believe in math, then Sheriff Clarke is most likely to be right, because the math says that they're going to protect each other and not do squat. What did you think of the president yesterday coming out and blasting the fake newsers in that gaggle? He called a couple of them out specifically and said, "You're liars and fake newsers." So the president starting his offense immediately. He said, "You're fake news. You're one of the worst." Trump said to one reporter at NPR. What'd you think of that?
I think it was fantastic. This has been his style. This is his persona, his personality, and we're going to see more of it. He's a fighter, and he doesn't just counterpunch, which is what too many people on our side, I'm talking about the elected GOP, they wait to counterpunch. By the way, Louis Gohmert did an outstanding job. Jim Jeffers did an outstanding job yesterday in really demonstrating how incompetent and how he's lost it. I understand that Bob Mueller is an older man now, but I'll tell you what, when he was named, all anybody had to say about him was how great he was, how sharp, how much integrity, how much this. He'd be the perfect man for this. The guy was a strong man. Shame on Bob Mueller from allowing himself to be used. He didn't want to be there yesterday. Nadler and that band of goofs, forced him to testify. They said they were going to subpoena him. Bob Mueller has not lost his mind enough to realize what a subpoena is, that he was going to have to do it. And so he thought he'd come there and, he demanded to have an aide there. That was part of the agreement because he didn't know what the hell was going on. I don't think at any point in this investigation. So we shall see. But again, I think a guy like Christopher Steele, he'll probably go down. But those aren't big fish. Okay, those are not big fish. I want to see Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Lisa Page, and others. I want to see potentially, this thing still ties back to the Clinton campaign. I want to see Mrs. Bill Clinton doing the perp walk. When those people are indicted, and I'm not holding out hope. Like I said, I have no faith in this federal government. I have no faith in the Justice Department, not after what they just did, including the FBI, including some of the lawyers at DOJ, and trying to frame this president, trying to frame an American citizen. I can't believe this.
Well, Clapper, Brennan, McCabe, Comey, Strzok, Page, Steele. I mean, this really goes on. Then you have to look at unmasking Stephanie Powers, Rice. Then you have to look at, is it conceivable to think that you would have got a fake FISA warrant based on a fake dossier in opposition research to spy on, one, a presidential campaign, two, spy on a transition incoming president, three, spy on the president? You really think that didn't go up higher than Stephanie Powers or higher than Brennan? I mean, you really think that, as Corey Lewandowski says, do you really think that John Brennan or James Clapper had the power to spy on a president with false information without going to a higher authority? Do you really believe that? Does anybody believe that? No. Nobody in their right mind believes that. Look, I've had people on my show who said years ago, several times, they had Osama bin Laden in their sights, ready to pull the trigger, and that order had to come from Bill Clinton, and he stood down 2 times. I'm not going to argue with what Bill Clinton did, but these kind of decisions are not made at a lower level, okay? So, like Lewandowski says, Sheriff, he doesn't know how high it goes, but he says it definitely goes in the White House. Who it goes to, he doesn't know, but it's got to go there. And I agree with him.
There's no doubt about that. And I forgot Brennan and Clapper. Their hands are dirty all the way up to their elbows in this thing, too. But you're right. These things have to be approved at higher levels. I doubt that President Obama will be dragged into this, even though we know he had knowledge, because the question should be right now for Obama, what did he know and when did he know it? Because these guys briefed him, okay? And these guys knew, and like you said, the fake FISA warrant, the falsifying that. You know what? All those people should go down. We'll see. I hope they go down because I want to have faith and trust in my federal government. I don't right now, especially after this. I really didn't before that. But you can see what happens with the awesome power that the federal government has. That's why, look at Mike Flynn. Mm-hmm. We forget about Mike Flynn, a great American hero, a war hero, who is fighting an indictment right now. Actually, he pled guilty to it, but that thing will probably blow up in their faces too. But that's what the government can do when they decide they want you. They're going to get you come hell or high water. And they thought they could do that with the President of the United States because this has always worked before. When they wanted somebody, Scooter Libby. When they wanted somebody, they'll get them. And they thought, we'll get Trump just like we got Scooter Libby, just like we've gotten anybody we've ever gone after. But we got a guy in the White House right now, and I said, with all due respect, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, who's a fighter. But for the fact that he's a fighter and came out lead punching on this thing, including discrediting this Mueller investigation from the very beginning, including discrediting that, I don't think a lot of other people could have withstood this. They probably would have resigned.
Right. Well, I mean, and you
you
look at what this president has accomplished under this tremendous pressure, which was all false to begin with. Sheriff David Clarke with us. Sheriff Clarke, I'm going to see you tomorrow, right, in Sunland, New Mexico, and both of us flying to El Paso tonight, and we'll hook up tonight, and of course we'll have to have you on again tomorrow talking about the wall and webuildthewall.us. You're going to be there, right?
I'm going to be there. Be leaving out this afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, I'm leaving also. I'll see you tomorrow. John Fredericks Radio Network. Your call's coming up when I get back. 888-480-JOHN, 888-480-JOHN. Follow Sheriff David Clarke, americasheriff.com. Senior advisor, webuildthewall.us. Sheriff Clarke and I tomorrow at the border on the John Fredericks Radio Network. The coup, there's going to be hell to pay, and it's coming. Sheriff Clarke says nothing will happen. I'm not so sure.